Hear ye, hear ye. The following scene is a reenactment of Perry v. Schwarzenegger, the Proposition 8 trial heard in U.S. District Court. Dr. Gregory M. Herrick, professor of psychology at the University of California at Davis, expert witness for the plaintiff on the nature of sexual orientation, is under direct examination by the plaintiff's lawyer, Ethan Dettner. The plaintiffs in this case are two loving same-sex couples who simply want to marry, just as any heterosexual couple in America has the right to do. Court is now in session.
Moving to a slightly different topic, Professor Herrick, do people choose their sexual orientation?
Well, I've conducted research in which I found that the vast majority of lesbians and gay men, and most bisexuals as well, when asked if they feel that, how much choice they've had in their sexual orientation about being gay or lesbian or bisexual, say that they have experienced no choice or very little choice about that.
You are familiar with the terms reparative therapy or sexual orientation change therapy?
I am familiar with those terms.
Can you explain what those terms mean?
Well, those are terms that are used to refer to various types of interventions that are intended to alter a person's sexual orientation, to change them from becoming homosexual into heterosexual.
Have those types of therapies been found to be effective?
Well, before I answer that, it's useful maybe to say what constitutes effectiveness, or how we think about effectiveness. When we use the word effective in connection with therapeutic interventions, what we mean is an intervention or a therapy that has been shown to consistently work, to consistently produce the outcome that it's supposed to produce in the population for which it is designed, and that it does so without causing harm to the individuals involved. And with those standards, no, various reparative therapies or sexual orientation change therapies have not been found to be effective.
Has the American Psychological Association taken a stand on these types of therapies?
Yes, it has.
And can you describe how it came to take a stand on those?
Well, these therapies have been around for a long time, and there's been a great deal of discussion and debate about them. The APA has considered them a number of times. Most recently, it convened a task force. I believe the task force was convened in 2008 or 2009. It produced its report in 2009. But this was a task force that was given to task evaluating the current status of these therapies and to produce a report advising the association on their effectiveness, their safety, and whether or not they should be used.
And what were the conclusions reached as a result of those studies?
Well, the task force did a very thorough review of the research literature, and first of all found that there were actually not very many high-quality studies that have been conducted that could actually speak to the effectiveness of these therapies. But when one looks at the studies that are available and that have used the methods of sufficient quality, what one finds is that they are very limited effectiveness and are also potentially associated with some harms to individuals.
Okay. If I could ask you to turn to Exhibit 888 in your first binder. And also, if we could have, I'd like to publish a first demonstrative, Your Honor. Professor Herrick, could you please tell the court what Exhibit 888 is?
Well, this is the cover of the report from the task force that I just mentioned.
And 888 in your binder is, can you describe what that is?
I'm sorry, it's the report of the American Psychological Association Task Force on appropriate therapeutic responses to sexual orientation. And yes, the entire report is here in the binder.
Okay. If we could move to the next demonstrative, please. If you look on page 2 to 3 of Exhibit 888, do you find the conclusion there of the task force?
Yes.
And do you mind reading that, please, into the record? It's also on the screen there.
Sure. Okay, it's easier to read from the screen. Enduring change to the individual's sexual orientation is uncommon. The participants in this body of research continue to experience same-sex attractions following SOCE, an acronym for Sexual Orientation Change Efforts, and did not report significant change to other sex attractions that could be empirically validated, though some showed lessened physiological arousal to sexual stimuli. Compelling evidence of decreased same-sex sexual behavior and of engagement in sexual behavior with the other sex was rare. Few studies provided strong evidence that any changes produced in laboratory conditions translated to daily life. Thus, the results of scientifically valid research indicate that it is unlikely that individuals will be able to reduce same-sex attraction or increase other sexual attractions through SOCE.
Thank you. Are these conclusions consistent with your own opinion?
Yes.
Do you know whether the task force made any conclusions with respect to the safety of these types of therapies?
Well, the task force pointed out that just as there are problems with the research on the effectiveness, which make it difficult to say that there is a cause and effect relationship between any changes that occurred in and the actual participation in the therapy, they also found that there were many anecdotal reports of individuals who felt that they had experienced harm related to these therapies.
Mm-hmm.